John Healey. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for being with us. And I just wonder, Ben Wallace talking to me a little earlier, ruling out effectively sending fighter jets. What are your thoughts on that?
Good morning. He's right that any fighter jets to Ukraine is a long-term plan. The most important thing over the next weeks and couple of months is to get Ukraine the military support it needs to withstand the growing Russian onslaught, and also to be able to mount its own offensive as the weather improves. And it's the coordinated efforts of the West that count, each country doing what it can. And so the government has our support when it says we'll train fighter combat pilots. But of course, the fighter planes the Ukrainians really want are the F-16s, which Britain itself doesn't have.
Will prolonged UK support, though, require a significant increase in the defence budget, in your view?
Well, this is certainly long-term. And, you know, since the invasion a year ago, 25 other NATO nations have already rebooted their defence plans and their defence budgets. Britain's done neither. And in truth, there's been a good crisis response, but a void in government vision about what next. And there's been strategic inertia, if you like, over any domestic and international rethink. So I think a big test of this government in the next few weeks is the new integrated review and the spring budget. Have the government got the strength to make the big decisions, the long-term commitments that are required to secure our future and our security, or are they simply too weak and concerned with week-to-week survival to make those big calls?
So would Labour commit to significantly higher defence spending?
I've always taken the view you judge politicians on what they do, not just what they say. And when Labour was in government for 13 years, we maintained the strength of the British Army at over 100,000 full-time troops. In our last year in government, we were spending 2.5% of GDP, the country's earned income, on defence, and it's never been matched or got anywhere close in the 13 Conservative years since. And you interviewed Ben Wallace. He said in the Commons earlier this month that under his watch, under the last 13 years, the government had hollowed out and underfunded our armed forces. What's needed now is a reset, particularly in light of Ukraine. And as a Labour government, we would always, as we have done before, spend what's required to defend the country and keep the citizens safe.
But how would you fund significantly increased defence spending?
Always really tough decisions, particularly when we've seen the recent problems with the government crashing the economy, driving inflation up, and seeing exchange rates plummet. So that's put even more pressure on squeezed defence budgets as the threats are increasing. You have to make your decisions about what's required to defend the country in light of the threats that you face. And that information is classified to government. You can't make that detailed call in opposition, which is why we've said in year one of a new Labour government, we'd launch our own strategic defence and security review. That would be the basis on which we'd make the decisions for the future on spending.
Right, but rebuilding the UK's armed forces does not seem to be one of Labour's top priorities. Why?
No, on the contrary, as Keir Starmer said yesterday, one of the first duties of any government is to defend the country, back the armed forces, ensure economic stability. Those are the foundations on which you can do anything else. And so those will be hardwired into any future Labour government. We set out the Labour missions on the economy, on green growth, on the health service, on opportunities for all, and on keeping neighbourhoods safe on top of that.
OK, John Healey, thank you very much indeed.